So I love Biologique Recherche. It's a fantastic company, and I think it's got a great backstory. This started with a family. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the two founders, Josette and Yvan Allouche. They were a couple, so it was a real family business. And she was more about the treatments, and he was more on the products. So it was really the yin and the yang. So together they created a methodology, a skincare methodology, which was based on simple observation, as always, with great ideas. It starts with very simple ideas, which is the skin is not really different from one person to another person, but it's changing all the time. So they were really obsessed with personalization, and they invented the concept of the skin instant, which is your skin today, and maybe if you come back to us in 2 weeks' time, it will be very different. So they wanted to adapt the methodology to whatever the skin needs and evolution. Now everybody is talking about personalization, so it's not new anymore, but think that they created that more than 45 years ago. So they were really visionary, and and we were lucky enough to have time to build with innovation, research on that very simple concepts, but very complicated as well, of personalization for skincare. So
Yeah.
that's the story of the founders.
Yeah, I like the story because it seems like these days everyone's dream is to start a skincare company. In
Nice.
this, yeah, well, in this
Nice.
industry, it seems like the natural extension to a lot of people who are in the industry and feel like, well, let's just start our own skincare line. And here's a couple who, what was it, 40 years ago, had this thought before really the industry had taken off, I guess. What do you think made them really want to do that, and what do you think made them unique and being able to establish such a good company early on?
Yeah, first of all, if you take a little step back, that was just after the Second World War. So the economy was really booming, middle class was developing everywhere. So you had a lot of entrepreneurs in the beauty industry. Clarins was the same generation, Yves Rocher. In the US, you also had a lot of creation. So that was a period of creation, development. The economy was really good. So they were not the only one. What I think is a common point with all those people, and of course I know more the French creators than the US one, is that they had passion. Okay, of course they wanted to develop their business, but a lot of creation today are kind of money driven. Not all of them, of course, but at that time they really had a vision, a passion, and this is what made them successful, because they really worked their passion to the extreme, and that was what made all those brands big brands and successful brands. Everyone is in its own positioning and story. Josette was a physiotherapist, so that was her kind of expertise and passion by training. And Yvan Allouche was more a biologist, so he was more into skin, into products. So that was their kind of academic background, which explained why they developed that. And they started with patients in the kind of medical environment. Now, again, at that time, the separation between beauty medical was not as regulated as it is today. So they were very much in contact with the medical world and experts. And this is why they always started with the skin, and we still do today, before searching, the last magic bullet in terms of ingredients. And that was really how it all started, understanding the skin and developing a methodology that was making the skin better for a longer time. So that was the origin of their expertise. And the son of the founders, Philippe Allouche, is a medical doctor. He's head of research. So there is a kind of, family tradition that is continuing.
And Yvan was a chemist, is that right?
Yeah, biologist, chemist. So his academic background was biology. And then he was, the person who was developing the products, creating the products.
Yeah, I imagine this scenario that she'd come home and tell him what worked, and then he'd go to the lab and work on something. Is that how it would? Is that how it was?
I think and this is why we are a pure professional brand. It's the yin and the yang. So it's kind of creative interaction between, you have patients, you touch them, they talk about their skin problem, then you come back home and you say, hang on, my friend or my customer, she has that kind of problem, and it comes on and on again. Can you look at what kind of ingredient formulation could help? And this is how when it's a small family business, because I know everybody is saying that, but they literally started in their kitchen, because cosmetic is very close to cooking. So, but it was like permanent interactive process. And even after a day of work, when you come back home, you are still working, creating, and sometimes they were cooking, the new recipe for the new product. So this is how it started.
Yeah. When I think of BR, we talk about this a lot. That BR has a very distinct philosophy. It's very different. As you've said, it's kind of holistic and separate from some other lines where they focus on the ingredients that are in the products. With BR, it's almost you're not even sure what the ingredients are. There's a system. There's a kind of a way of treating patients without focusing on the specific ingredients. And there seems to be a magic there, though, because patients love it, to be quite honest. And I wonder if that's part of the culture of how it began, and maybe a little bit of the philosophy of how they started. And could you maybe speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's again, it's a very simple, it's very sophisticated now, but it's a simple concept. It all starts with the skin, and the ingredients are coming at the second stage. So the methodology they created was first the diagnosis, very important. Like when you go to a doctor, you don't go because you want this or that medicine. You go to a doctor because he has a great reputation in doing a great diagnosis. Okay, so that's step one. And they always were very obsessed with making the right diagnosis and teaching the therapist to do the right diagnosis. Once this is done, then they treated the skin in a kind of two major steps. And as Dr. Allouche is saying, the skin is like a house. You have to take care of the roof before you invest inside the house. It's the same for the skin. So they were again obsessed with treating the epidermis first, balancing the epidermis, and this is how they created, Yvan Allouche created the famous P50, to clean the roof, but not too much so that there is no hole in the roof. And then they developed a second stage, which is the treatment stage, which is more profound, but only once the epidermis, which is the outside layer of the skin that is protecting you from the outside aggression, is correctly balanced, made stronger so that they can move to inside the house. And that's as simple as that. Now, once this is done, and it's the same methodology for now 45 years, what they did and what we continue to do is to create innovation that are new weapons to make the personalization even stronger and better. But that's all. And of course, on the diagnosis, we have now new tools. We even do DNA testing. So the science is helping a lot. But the principles, the methodology is the same. Diagnosis, making the roof stronger, and then investing inside the house. Now, what they observed, and it's still true today, is that skin is extremely complex. Okay, so unfortunately, everybody is different, and everybody has a skin evolution that is different. And we now know that the heritage, the DNA, is responsible for at least half of your skin condition. So they understood that complexity. Now, they had the dream of treating every skin instant, every skin problem. Of course, because they were starting as a small company, they couldn't do everything. What they understood is that exfoliation is very, very important, because if the exfoliation is too strong, it's very bad. And if you don't exfoliate properly, then you take the risk that the skin renewal, you know that the skin is the only living organ which is renewing itself every 26 days. So you have to get rid of the dead cells so that the newborn cells can flourish and make a healthy skin. So they knew that exfoliation was key. And this is probably why one of the first products they created was the P50. And that was a revolution at that time, because it was not extremely aggressive exfoliation, it was daily exfoliation, which didn't exist at that time. And that was probably the start of the reputation and the success of the methodology and the company. So the other area where they really started early was acne and sebo regulation. And Yvan invented a product that still exists, which is very bizarre because it has a very strange smell, a very sticky texture. So it wouldn't pass any consumer test ever. And it's the mask Vivant, which is a living mask, as we call it in English. And it's a great product, again, for sebo regulation and acne skin. So they were very obsessed with acne too.
Wow.
Yeah, the P50 is certainly, I think that's probably your cult classic, as we'd say. Would you agree with that?
No, it's our bestseller. It's a very unique product because it's exfoliating, it's sebo regulating, it's pH balancing, it's kind of multi-benefit. So it doesn't really exist in the market at that time. Now.
Yeah. Well, why do you think it hasn't been copied? It's so successful.
To be honest, it is being copied now.
Yeah.
But, because other brands, they do understand the importance for healthy skin of that kind of daily exfoliation. So that's the ransom for success, I guess. But yes, it's our most well-known product.
Yeah, by far, it's the most well-known product, I think.
But we are very proud to have a lot of products which are not that well known, but which are solving specific issues for even very few people. This is where we are very proud. For instance, rosacea is a big issue. So there are things which not many people have, or problems which not many people have. So yes, the P50 is well known, but our obsession is to find solutions for everybody, hopefully.